All right. Good morning. Hello, everyone here. There's five of us, and whoever is listening later, I hope you're having a great day. We are going to just dive in here. So, all right. We can kind of let this be however, whatever you guys are desiring. But in order to kind of like prepare a little something, I prepared a little something. And so we can kind of whatever, you guys. I think I assigned, was it chapters 1 through 9? And so I just kind of went through and jotted down a few questions that I think are good for conversation. My desire from this for myself and for you guys is to, like I said, kind of get some community, but also get some growth. I'm going to kick off a summer book discussion in June. And so that's coming, but I decided I didn't want to wait until June to meet and chat. And I was like, we got a good book right here to talk about. And it's such a fast read that we can do it in 3 weeks. I'm not through it all the way yet. I don't know if you guys have finished it, but maybe like halfway, because it's so good. I'm just kind of going slow, and I might have to read it several times. And like Eling and I were talking several modalities. I read chapter 1 on my Kindle. I listened to 2. I did the podcast for 6. So anyways, yeah, so I've got some questions here. But we can, maybe let's just start with if anybody has anything that you want to share, like thoughts, takeaways, questions, love, don't love. Anybody have anything? And seriously, stay off mute so we can talk. You don't have to go on and off.
I read it like a week ago, and I'm trying to remember exactly what those first 1 through 8 chapters covered.
Yeah.
And I didn't know we were going to be discussing it and stuff, so I just kind of read through
yeah,
it.
Totally. And I don't know. I mean, I could come up with questions, and I guess you guys let me know, like after this, maybe we can talk about it in our chat, how we want to structure it. If you guys are wanting questions like a week in advance for that week, or if we want to just have discussion questions for when we come. But I think Doug's book, like there is some, like definitely some like practical that could be hands-on like application, but I think so much of it is our mindset and our heart that I feel like, you know, with some, if we were to be studying a different type of book, I would maybe say like, let's do the work like during the week as we're reading and kind of come with some of our learnings and applications and things like that. But I don't know, we'll see. We'll just play by ear. So I'll just read the chapter list of what 1 through 9 covered, if that like jogs memory. And like I said, I've got questions. So if nobody has any like major things they want to share right off the bat, I can kind of hopefully prompt our conversation. So number 1 is, let's face it, life can suck sometimes. 2, current reality is an acquired taste. 3, boss up. 4, it's okay to quit. 5, confront the beast. 6, millionaire mindset. 7, why our friends hold us up. 8, only take advice from winners. 9, why comfortable people stay broke. So, anyone have big things they want to share off the bat?
First thing, so I'm kind of a dork, and I have notes per chapter. And I think it's only because I have listened, read, whatever, in different modalities, because for whatever reason, this content has felt like exactly what I needed to hear. And I think the first thing was from chapter 1, and he said, if you're doing it right, it's going to seem messy. And I loved that because it seems like when I put my head down and I'm going all out for what I want, life gets really messy every time. And I've been learning that lesson of it gets messy, so maybe I should back up on my stuff to make everyone around me more comfortable. Or I'm going to go full bore. And so I've heard that in other ways many, many different times, but it's just so validating to hear that it's not like a perfect straight line. It's just not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so validating because I think it's so easy to feel like when life gets messy, like we must be doing something wrong. But I think I love the point that it actually is, you're getting really on the right track when it gets messy, because one of the parts I loved, and I kind of couldn't read for like 3 days after I read the part about pattern disruption, because that was so impactful to me. I was like, wow, that is a really good way to look at growth and development. And especially for me, I think of it in terms of my personal, like my family life, because it's so easy to be in ruts of like the kind of day in and day out. That's kind of what I'm feeling right now. And I was like, I got to marinate on like what patterns need disrupting. And then when you do that, it's messy, but it's right. It's good.
One thing that I really like that he says about that too, I mean, transition's always messy, but the fact that because this is the way your life has been up until now doesn't mean that that's the way it has to continue. Like you can take responsibility for it, and when you do that, you can change it. It's you can make the changes and change how your future looks and change how it looks for future generations. And that's the thing that just keeps like, I keep hearing that over and over again in my head. Love it.
It's so empowering. It's such an empowering mindset. You know, that's one of the things, probably, like, if I had to pick one thing that I love about what we do as coaches and what the program and Dr. A, the Habits of Health, and the way that we function and operate and the way I've been coached and mentored, I think if I had to pick one thing of what is the most impactful, it would be empowerment. And I think that's what Doug's whole entire book is this just massive empowerment of, you know, just kind of opening our eyes to some of the ways that we've let ourselves fall below the line in that victim mentality, that we have so much more. Or else if you're me, you focus on trying to control the things that are actually outside your control, and not, because kind of as like, if I'm really being like honest with myself, it's like, because I don't want to do the things that I can control the most because they're the hardest. It's so much easier to try and like change someone or something here than change myself.
Right.
All right.
It's so easy to look outside yourself, and it's so much harder to turn the mirror and go, oh, okay, really, who's the common denominator here? It's not a bad thing, it just is, right? And how do you shift that? Like, I think you can take personal responsibility over and over and over again, but to internalize that in a way that you're not beating yourself up and feeling shameful or frustrated with yourself or whatever, and just be like, no, like, I have the power to flip the script here. Yeah, it's impactful.
Yeah. So here's my favorite question that I thought of. And I, again, like, not having given you guys anything to prepare on, I don't want anyone to feel like, if you can't come up with it on the spot, that's okay. But just putting it out there. So Millionaire Mindset is, I think there's a reason he picked that one to read on his podcast, because I feel like it is kind of the core of his message, and the most, you know, where we can have the biggest like impact in our transformation is developing that. So I'm curious, how would you guys describe or define millionaire mindset in your terms, or like kind of capping how he describes it? What is millionaire mindset to you?
I think the first part of that is definitely just kind of envisioning yourself being successful, and what that looks different to everybody, but how, you know, creating that, this is what, when I'm successful, this is what it's going to look like. And then what do I need to do to get there? And then once I'm there, what am I going to do with that success? Like, it's not just about, oh, I want to make millions of dollars and have a big, beautiful house and a fancy car, which, and he's completely unapologetic for, if driving a fancy car is going to make you feel good and make you show up great, and, you know, he's like, I do, and don't be ashamed of it. But, you also have to do really good things with your fortune. And so that's why I love, I don't know if it's in those chapters or later, where he goes into the school that he founded and all that stuff. And I love that stuff. It's like things that you dream about being able to do, like, oh God, oh yeah, if I was Bill Gates and had billions and billions of dollars, I would have this kind of foundation, or I would do this, or, you know, I would funnel money into stopping sex trafficking, or whatever is something that just really hits home with you. And just, if this can get you to a place where you have the ability to do those things, wow, that's where you really feel success, I think.
That is so good, Carrie. I love that. I mean, that's it's just so telling of your heart, but Doug's heart too, you know. And I just love that we're being led by people who are so other oriented. And I really loved hearing the stories of what he and Tia did along the way, that they have been generous when they didn't have anything. Like, that was powerful, because I think people like Doug, or the Tinters, the Millers, I mean, and those are just the ones that are our leaders, the Rennas too, you know, but they serve in such like a humble way. They're humble servants. And so they're not bragging about the stuff that they do. I know, like, David and Terry Miller have shared like very little bit. I've heard them share about what they do. And then Megan would lean over to me and whisper, that's like, they're actually like building a hospital in Africa. They're not just like donating to you know, like, you know what I mean? They just, because they don't brag. They're not doing it for public.
They're doing it for bragging rights. They're doing it because that's what sets their soul on fire. And people, I mean, I've met enough people in my life to know that people are that way, whether they have a ton of money or not. You either have a generous, giving, caring spirit. If you're broke, you find ways to be generous to other people with your time or resources or stuff, and people either just are or aren't. But I think you can be it like to the nth power if you have more resources to do it with. You can expand your reach, basically.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, so cool. Themer, Elaine, what is millionaire mindset?
Yes. So for me, and I haven't read yet, or I just downloaded the Audible today. So my goal is to start that.
Totally fine.
But to me, I mean, millionaire, obviously, yes, you always think of it as money, right? But in terms of millionaire, like, when you hear that, you think of abundance and overabundance. And whatever makes you happy to have that overabundance, that's what I get out of millionaire mindset. So for me, like, it's whatever makes me feel like I have an overabundance. Well, for me right now, it's, you know, my health and my health journey, and making other people healthy and happy. So that's where I see being a millionaire as being, and then pouring that into others. You know, like, being a millionaire is just not, again, it's, you hear it and it always goes right to the money, but it's not a financial thing. Like, I could feel like I'm a millionaire, feel like I'm $1 million, you know, like that saying, I feel like I'm $1 million because I'm happy, I have energy, I have all this stuff. And that's where I see being a millionaire. And the money would, just like with Optavia, you know, you get the energy, you get all this other stuff, the good stuff, but then the weight loss comes and you're like, that's the extra bonus. So, you know, the money would be the extra bonus on top of having all of the abundance of being happy, you know. That's what I see. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so good. I love this. I love that everybody has like different like takes, but they're all good, and they're all like, I'm like taking notes because I love these thought processes, and it's just encouraging. So how about you, Elaine?
I think I also, the millionaire mindset piece, when I hear it, I see, or I think of the word abundance. But there was a question that he asked, and I don't know if it was in the book or if it was the way he read the chapter in the podcast, but he said, like, how big do you see it? Because oftentimes how big you see it is based on like your definition of how big you see things is based on what you saw someone else around you have, right? And so I thought that was so powerful because a few things. One, you know, he's saying if someone told you that $100,000 a year was what you needed to make, then you would think that was a lot, right? And if that's your mindset, the work that you're willing to do, how you're willing to lean into it, even if you're not conscious of it, will keep you there, right? And I think that it's super duper powerful. And he told a story even to the point of like, he knew someone that had kind of a standard for where they wanted to be in their life. And they were always working a second and third job. And when they got right to that standard, they would quit, like, so that they didn't go above it, right? And so it's sort of like, it challenged me to think, okay, how big do I see it? And then go bigger. And not so much about the zeros at the end of my income, because what he says is, you know, we all have the same problems. We just have different zeros at the end. And that, like, oh my gosh, yes. Because in my lifetime, I have run the gamut of financial freedom, both feeling like I'm locked in a box because I don't have a penny to my name, to you know, having more than enough. And so, but none of the issues here or, you know, in my life necessarily changed that dramatically in those spaces. So that to me is kind of like the millionaire mindset. How big do you see it? And then he asks a question that I think is so key, as he's encouraging you to dream, but like, and I'm not even sure if it's this chapter or what, but like, what are you willing to do to get there? What are you willing to do to get there, to really shift your mind? Because, you know, the people that you surround yourself will model that abundance, or they will kind of shush it down. And so that's super duper impactful for me. How do I surround myself with people that are connected to that abundance kind of mindset, and not just abundance mindset, but more importantly for me right now in my life, it's abundance behavior. No more excuses, no more, you know, kind of like not taking personal responsibility, like all of those things. I realize when I surround myself with that, it brings it out in me too, because we all have it, right? So
yeah, and that's even right there is a really powerful statement, because we do, and yet we don't know that we do, or at least for me before Optavia. I mean, honestly, like, I think part of why this has been so impactful for me is that, like, he has been teaching this for the last like 2.5 years. And I mean, he has, and forever will have, like, a special place in my heart, because whether it was directly through trainings and things and Facebook Lives, or whether it was through Megan, because Megan has adopted his, you know, mindset. And not that she didn't have it before, but like, he's just done an amazing job of like replicating what he has kind of set into place for us, which is just start questioning and stop cutting ourselves off, like you're saying, you know, and realize that we have this potential, and that if we only were to take the steps. I think this is why I'm so passionate about personal growth, because I've always been like kind of a personal growth junkie, but coming into Optavia, it's like given me the tools and the opportunity to kind of like play out really in real life some of the personal growth, versus just like read about it and internalize like my thought processes about it and all of that. And so, anyways, I think you're right. We all have it. And I feel like Doug is like unlocking it for us, like, because it's been sleeping. It needs awakening. So, hey, Alina, how are you?
Hi, I'm hanging in. Yeah. Sorry I'm super late. I hope it wasn't distracting for me to pop on in my car.
No, you're totally great. we're just talking about what the millionaire mindset means to us. Do you have any comments or thoughts on that?
Honestly, I've gotten through like the first chapter and a half because I just got my book yesterday. And I bought the audiobook when I saw your text or saw your message. And I'm like, oh, this is how I can participate. I can listen to it with my children. So I love it so far. I love his boldness and how he's just laying it out. But I'm really just to the very beginning of it. So for me, what I've gotten so far is more just, it's an absolute awakening of everybody has their baggage, everybody has their stuff, but what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do about it? And that's kind of where, I've gotten to so far.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we've been talking about and stuff. And I'm excited because you're going to love it. And same with you, Thamer. It's just so good. And it's so powerful. It's so powerful. I kind of want to move towards wrapping up here, and then in our message, let's chat about how we want to go about, if we want to plan for an hour next time, if we want to have questions in advance, or just kind of do what we're doing here. But one question I had that I don't remember, I feel like it was in the Millionaire Mindset chapter, but I couldn't find it in there, so it must have been somewhere else. But I love how he talks about how he's weird, and so I was super curious. Ooh. Okay, that's I was really curious what you guys think, why do you think, or how is he weird? And what, how can we harness that weird and apply it to our lives? Because he's obviously, made massive progress in his mindset, his life, his impact, all of that stuff. So what does Doug being weird mean? Hi, Nessa. Hi.
Attention.
So what do you think about Doug being weird? What does that mean, and how does that kind of inspire us?
I don't know how weird he is per se. I've never met the guy, but I think the way I think about that is if you're like everybody else, doing the same thing as everybody else, you're not going to have bigger goals and bigger dreams, and you're going to be satisfied with the Monday through Friday 9-to-5 job, 2 weeks of vacation a year, that kind of thing. And I think being weird is just going well, that's not what I want. I want this instead. And how am I going to make that happen? Well, I might have to do things differently, like we were talking about earlier. What are you willing to do to get there? So I think just his weird is just being different and thinking about it differently.
Yeah.
How I see that, and I don't know Doug at all either, but how I see that question is there's no true normal. I mean, and I feel like that saying that you're weird, you can relate to everybody because everybody has their weirdness, supposedly, everybody has, nobody's normal. So I like that he says that he's weird because that makes him relatable. I mean, in everybody, like I said, everybody's going to have their own way to relate weirdness to him. So I guess that's how we should grab it, is that there's no true normal. Let's not try to be normal. Let's try to be weird and get to everybody that we possibly can,
Yeah, it's like he's embracing his weirdness
Yeah.
and using it, following it versus trying to stifle it. That's cool. I like that. And that's kind of what I think too. All right, go ahead, Haley.
I mean, I think of weird, in that way, is challenging the status quo, right? So instead of feeling uncomfortable that you, don't fit in with a 97%, like he talks about, right? And so you're kind of one of the 3% really saying, no, I'm going to do something different. No more of the 40-40-40 plan, right? $40,000 for 40 years, kind of the whole thing. And so, and really owning that and moving forward kind of proudly and maybe not even proudly, but unapologetically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what you are called to. And I honestly believe if you are drawn to this book and you are reading this book, and if you're
reading this book, what? Say that part again.
If you're reading this book, you're drawn to this book, and you don't immediately like read the first chapter and you're like, I hate this, right?
Yeah.
You are being called to this path.
Yeah.
You know, like
I'm getting some pretty significant feedback from whoever's in their car.
yeah.
Yeah,
Here we
we
go.
had that earlier too. If you can mute it, because I couldn't even hear Eileen really.
Do you want to say that again, Eileen?
Oh, so
I was getting the feedback too, so I shut it off.
so I kind of lost it. I think the last sentence that I really said was with when you're feeling kind of moving forward in this path unapologetically versus feeling like you are almost apologizing for it, because I think sometimes we apologize for this. We're doing something different. We're stepping outside of what most people do. And it's almost like we apologize for it, but instead moving forward unapologetically, owning this, and really knowing that it's your path. Because I think if you are reading this book, if you don't, throw it away after the first chapter, there's something inside your heart that's being called to a path like this. I really believe that if this book is in your hands, it's meant to be for a reason.
Yeah.
So
That's so true. So true. And it's hard for me to even fathom someone reading the book and not like being blown away by it. But you're probably right. There probably are people that are just so stuck that they can't go there.
I think
And they're
it
just
will
not ready.
ruffle. Oh gosh, I can think of people in my life that it would really, really ruffle feathers and probably make me angry on some level.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I can too.
Not everyone is open to this type of thought process.
Yeah. Yeah.
But usually when you get really upset by something, it means that's probably something you need to look at. I finally learned that, like, when I'm feeling anger or extreme frustration at an idea, there's something in myself that it's triggering that I need to look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I believe it could help everybody. It's just a matter of who's open to it and who's in the right space for it, right?
Yeah. Who's ready?
Yeah.
Totally. Anything else on Doug being weird before we wrap up? All right. Well, I'm going to stop recording and then we'll chat for a minute. So thanks for joining us, everyone. And how do I stop recording? There we go. Bye.